All right, so yeah, here is our final project. This is our final code, and it is not fully complete in some areas, although for the most part it follows the code pretty closely. This is mainly due to time constraints. We had originally planned on doing a literal transition, and as we got closer to getting that portion done and translating the code, um, we were all working on our own parts and decided to put it together and found after a ton of troubleshooting, just a really long time of troubleshooting, it wasn't going to work. So we ended up um, utilizing just the way the game was played, the way we knew the game was played, and use that knowledge to actually create the code for this, which is not nearly a literal transition as the original code was. So how we have this set up is we have these all our variables set up here. Then we have the struct for the quadrants, and that just holds all that information there. And then we have all of our functions out here. So the end game. So we have an end game for if you lose or win. And then we have placing things, long range scanner, short range scanner, and you'll see in the actual program that we are missing the last three commands just because again of time. We're finishing up other finals, and so we're just able to get these out and ready. And the ones we are missing are damage, so DAM, comms, and then the XXX option. I'm not sure exactly what that was. But we were able to get this far and have all these functions laid out outside of a main function that begins right here. So we have all of the fighting, all of like those main actions that are going on outside of this main function, and then here we're just going through the process of playing the game. So prompting the user to enter whether they want to play the game or what. So we have that yes character right there, and then here is that setup for the Star Trek game, and then this is some of that coloring we got from conio.h, which was the library that we used to be able to implement color. We found it pretty easy to use, and yeah, we were able to get a little bit of a design because of that. And then we have all of our printf statements here. Just they don't follow exactly to what the original code did, but they're pretty similar. And then we have these are the function names that you're able to hit. And so yeah, and then we have the prompting to play again, and it makes sure that we enter a valid character, whether that is uppercase y, uppercase no, or lowercase no, n, sorry. And then yeah, so we might as well get into the game. So compiling, we see this little flash of blue and red. That was just something we chose to do. We have this whole setup here, and then it shows the area that we're in. So we can actually go ahead and hit we can hit a command. So if I don't know the commands, I can just hit the enter button. It'll say there's no such command for anything we enter. So if I was to hit just 3 random letters or 2 random letters, then it would do the same thing no matter what. until we hit one of these 6 commands that we have so far. So if I was to hit short range scanner, then you can see just that small quadrant that of where we are, and we can see what is in that area. And then we can go long range scanner and we can see where in those quadrants in that universe is there a Klingon. So here we see there's 2, and so we could potentially move there. But you'll see, so we have also the phasers and then torpedoes and shields. So we could apply some shields to the game, to the ship. So we could go 1500, so half of that goes to shields. And then we can go move. So we can set a course from 1 through 4. So this is important to note that the directions go 1 through 4 instead of 1 through 9. So it goes 1 is going to be right. Let me just make sure that is correct. Yeah, 1 is right, and then 2 is up. 3 is left, and then 4 is going down. So if I was to go 4 to go downward, I can enter a warp based on the number of units. So we have the units here that we can go. Here that we can go. And so if I was to hit, let's say 15 units, our quadrant has changed. So we can go to SRS to see where we're at, and there we are. So we're in that quadrant with those 2 Klingons, and we can try to fight them by potentially doing a phaser. And then we could enter the amount of energy we want, so say 500. So I took 200 damage. Your shield's at 1300. There are 2 enemies firing at you. One of them was destroyed. Okay, so we can go again, and maybe a 500 again, and just see how this goes. So we end up destroying another enemy. So we can go short range scanner, and as you can see, both the Klingons are gone. We're in the same position, and we destroyed both of them. And so we can move on, go to long range scanner to try to find if there are any more. And as you can see, there are. We could try to go move potentially maybe left. Okay, and then see that says exiting universe, so that won't work. So we'll have to try again. And there we go, quadrant change. SRS. Oops. And there we are. So alongside this, if we do end up losing, we will be prompted, and you can see it here. We get the prompt of whether you want to play again. So you can enter yes or no to continue to play or leave, and then we go back over here to our end game function, and it just depends on whether you lose or you win. So if there are no Klingons remaining, then obviously you win. If there are, so that's why we say, so if lose game equals 1, so if that's true, then we go with that. Or if win game is, and then we break, and then we prompt again and ask if you want to play again. And so looking for that character, and then it just restarts from the beginning, goes through the same process, and we are randomizing all of that, where all those Klingons are and where we are within the galaxy. And then star dates as well. We are moving one star date every time we move. Okay. Ultimately, I think our group learned a lot from this project. We were really able to kind of learn how to work on the fly, because we had originally started this project by dividing the code just as we were assigned to do so. And so we divided the code evenly into sections, and it ended up us working on our specific sections for a while on our own, and then we ended up coming together to try to put it together, and it was super confusing. A lot of jumps, especially in some of the bigger functions that we ended up having. There's a lot of jumps from one part of the function, of like a function, to another person's code. For me specifically, I had a pretty big function that I was jumping from, that I found myself using the go-tos a lot, and I was jumping from one section to other group member sections. So I think that was like a common theme that we found throughout that part. And so translating the code became pretty difficult, and especially like putting it together was pretty difficult, because there was certain functions that everyone kind of struggled on. And so even when our own functions on their own was able to compile, when we put it together it wasn't able to compile, and we spent a lot of our time trying to troubleshoot that code. And so we were really focused on that and trying to make that work, when our solution all along should have been to do this, where we just kind of came together and went through the logic of the code, and tried to just base it off of that, base it off the logic of the actual logic of the code, rather than the just trying to literally translate it. So that made it a lot easier. But yeah, I think working as a team is something that I think we all learned how to do really well, especially in this group. I think better than any project we've been in throughout this first year, or throughout like some of the other classes. I think we were really able to experience that teamwork aspect of it, just putting our different ideas together rather than trying to work separately and then put it together and then try to work it out. We just went through the whole thing as a group, giving ideas as we went. And, I think that was the most helpful way and easiest way for us to find success, even though we weren't able to like get it fully fleshed out. We got it really close with limited time, so I think that was a pretty good lesson. Yeah.